You're slowly getting older. The alarm screams. You slap it twice before dragging yourself upright. Another Monday. Another mirror. And there you are, staring back at a guy who's not exactly out of shape, but not what you remember either. The belly creeps just slightly over your waistband. Your shoulders used to have that sharp definition. Now they're softer. Your face looks a bit swollen, eyes carrying that permanent tired look that coffee doesn't quite fix anymore. You think to yourself, I'm lifting 3 times a week. I'm running. I'm eating what they call healthy. So why do I still look so damn average? Later, scrolling through your phone, you see them. Those guys with shredded abs and veiny forearms, casually dropping their secret like it's nothing. I just skip breakfast, lift on an empty stomach, and the fat melts off. Sounds way too simple. But part of you wonders if there's something to it. Most men think intermittent fasting is just skipping breakfast. You eat less, you burn more. Simple math, right? And if you train without food in your system, you'll either torch fat faster or lose all your hard-earned muscle, depending on which angry comment section you stumbled into that day. Some guys swear fasted training is the ultimate fat-burning weapon. Others claim it'll tank your testosterone, destroy your gains, and leave you weak and miserable. And stuck in the middle is you, exhausted from playing guessing games with your own body. But beneath the surface of that empty stomach, something far more powerful is happening. Your hormones don't just tweak, they transform. Your cells completely switch which fuel they're burning. Your brain and your muscles start this quiet, invisible war over energy. And if you're a man training while fasting, you're not just changing your workout routine. You're quietly reshaping how much fat your body actually burns, how much muscle you keep when life gets stressful, and how you're going to age over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Here's the hidden danger nobody warns you about. Do this blindly, stumbling through it like another fad diet, and you'll feel wrecked, crave junk food at 2 in the afternoon, and yeah, you might actually lose muscle. But do it right, with a bit of science behind you, and you unlock what researchers call metabolic flexibility. That's not some guru buzzword. It's an engine that can burn fat on command, without you feeling like you're starving or suffering. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. It's not the full month of intermittent fasting that changes everything. It's what happens in those first few fasted workouts. Those strange, uncomfortable sessions where your body feels confused, where you're lightheaded and irritable and wondering if you made a huge mistake. Those sessions might be more important than anything that happens after the full 30 days. So let's zoom into that first phase. Why does your body completely freak out at the start, and what's the science behind that awful sensation of thinking you're about to pass out on the treadmill? You wake up. Nothing but black coffee or water. You head to the gym, wrap your hands around the barbell, or step onto the treadmill. The first set feels fine, maybe even good. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, it hits you. Lightheaded. This weird combination of being hungry and nauseous at the same time. You feel weaker than you should. Irritable. Your brain keeps drifting back to thoughts of food, like some part of you is screaming that this whole experiment is a terrible idea. You think, this can't be healthy. My body clearly hates this. If that's you, listen closely. You're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You're just transitioning. You've spent years, maybe decades, training your body to expect food constantly. Breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, dinner, maybe something before bed. Your system has been running on a steady drip of glucose, and now you're asking it to perform when the fuel tank looks completely empty. Except here's the thing, it's not empty at all. The fuel is just locked away, and your body hasn't remembered how to access it yet. Your body runs on 2 main fuels. First, there's glycogen, which is stored carbohydrates. Think of it like quick-burning gasoline. Fast, efficient, easy to access. Then there's body fat, those massive reserves you've been trying to burn off. That's like huge, slow-burning logs in a fireplace. Incredibly powerful, but harder to ignite. Most modern men are completely stuck as sugar burners. High-carb meals every few hours, constant snacking, insulin always sitting slightly elevated in your bloodstream. In that state, fat just gets stored. It doesn't get burned. It just sits there, waiting. When you train in a fasted state, everything flips. Insulin drops. That's the hormone that usually tells your body to store energy, to hold on to everything. Low insulin is your biological signal that says, okay, time to pull energy out of storage instead. But if you've spent years living on constant carbs and frequent meals, your body reacts like someone who's never used the backup power system. It's like a city that's always run on the main power grid suddenly getting switched to backup generators. The generators work. They're strong. They've been sitting there this whole time. But someone has to walk down to the basement, dust them off, flip the right switches, and get them humming again. That dusting off process feels like fatigue, hunger, and brain fog. While you're fasting and then training, your hormones start shifting in real time. Insulin goes down. Glucagon goes up. That's the unlock mechanism, the hormone that tells your liver to release stored energy back into your bloodstream. Then adrenaline and noradrenaline increase. Science shows that fasting and exercise together raise these fight-or-flight chemicals significantly. They sharpen your alertness, they signal fat cells to release their contents, and they keep your blood sugar stable even without food coming in. Cortisol also rises. Yes, that's a stress hormone, and in chronic overload it's a nightmare. But in short bursts, it's actually useful. It mobilizes energy when you need it. That shaky, uneasy feeling you get during those first fasted workouts? That's not you running out of fuel. That's your nervous system recalibrating how to get fuel without a recent meal sitting in your stomach. Your body isn't failing. It's learning. Now let's talk about why you feel weaker at first, because this freaks a lot of guys out. Studies on fasting combined with exercise show that performance may temporarily dip in the first week or two. Your lifts might feel heavier. Your runs might feel slower. But here's what those same studies also show. Over the next few weeks, strength and endurance often return to baseline or even improve, especially if your total calories and protein intake are still adequate. You're not actually losing strength. You're losing your dependency on pre-workout carbs. The first phase is like trying to lift without your favorite cheat code. Over time, your body stops needing the cheat code at all. Researchers looking at athletes who fast for religious reasons, like during Ramadan, found something important. When those athletes kept their total calories reasonable and trained intelligently, their performance didn't collapse. The body adapts. Other studies on time-restricted eating in men show improved insulin sensitivity and fat loss, even when total daily calories stayed roughly the same. It's not starvation. It's recalibration. So if the first couple of weeks feel like withdrawal, it's because they are. You're withdrawing from constant feeding and carb dependence. Your body is relearning an old skill it never really forgot. But here's where it gets interesting. Once your body figures it out, something flips. Instead of feeling weaker, a lot of men report this weird surge of energy and focus when they train fasted. So what's actually changing under the hood when that happens? You'd expect that training on an empty stomach would feel worse over time. Like your body would just keep protesting, keep dragging, keep reminding you that this isn't normal. But for many men, after a couple of weeks, the opposite happens. You wake up, drink some water, maybe have that black coffee. You hit the gym and suddenly you feel light. Sharper. Almost wired in a way that feels clean, not jittery. Your stomach is quiet. Your mind is clear. And your body starts to feel efficient, like a machine that's finally running the way it was designed to. Instead of feeling weaker, you start to feel this strange surge of energy. Here's why. The single most powerful shift happening here is something scientists call metabolic flexibility. Think of it as your body's internal gearbox. Gear 1, burn carbs. Gear 2, burn fat. Most men are stuck in Gear 1, grinding away, never really switching. Metabolic flexibility is the ability to shift gears smoothly, on demand, without your engine sputtering or stalling. In a man who trains while fasting, over time, the enzymes involved in fat oxidation ramp up. Your mitochondria, those tiny power plants inside every cell, become more efficient at burning fat as fuel. Your body learns a new language. It learns to say, we don't have food coming in right now, but there's no panic, no emergency. We just flip to fat-burning mode and keep going. The feeling that comes with this is hard to describe until you experience it. Fewer energy crashes throughout the day. Less desperate hunger clawing at you between meals. You're no longer a hostage to your next meal. You're not watching the clock, counting down the minutes until you can eat again. That shift alone changes how you move through your day. Now let's talk hormones, because this is where things get really interesting for men specifically. Growth hormone increases significantly during fasting. Think of growth hormone as your body's repair foreman. When food is scarce, growth hormone helps protect muscle tissue and mobilize fat for energy. It's telling your body, we're in a state where we need to be smart about resources, so let's hold on to the expensive stuff, the muscle, and burn the reserves we've been storing. When you train while fasted, you amplify this signal even more. Your body hears loud and clear, we're working, we're under load, we need to hold on to muscle, not burn it. Then there's insulin sensitivity. After weeks of intermittent fasting combined with training, your muscles become more hungry for nutrients. They become more receptive. Same carb-heavy meal that used to get stored as fat now gets pulled into muscle tissue instead. You're not just eating differently. Your body is using food differently. That's nutrient partitioning happening in real life, and it's one of the reasons men start looking leaner and more defined even when their weight on the scale barely moves. So let's address the question that's probably sitting in the back of your mind right now. Can you actually build muscle, or at least keep the muscle you have, when you train in a fasted state? This is where a lot of guys get stuck, paralyzed by conflicting advice. Here's the real story. Muscle growth depends on a few core factors: total protein per day, total calories, and progressive overload in your training. Fasting affects the timing of when you eat, not the possibility of growth itself. Studies on men doing resistance training combined with time-restricted eating often show fat loss with maintenance of muscle mass, and sometimes small gains. The key caveat? These men were hitting around 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight during their feeding window. They weren't starving themselves. They were just compressing when they ate. If you lift heavy and eat enough protein when you do eat, your body has zero reason to start stealing energy from your biceps. Muscle is metabolically expensive tissue. Your body doesn't burn it unless it absolutely has to. Let's talk about your brain, because this is one of the most underrated parts of this whole process. Fasting combined with exercise increases something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as Miracle-Gro for your neurons. More BDNF means better brain resilience, better learning, better mood regulation. Subjectively, men report feeling more locked in during workouts. Less brain fog. No food coma dragging them down in the afternoon. There's this sense of control, of discipline over impulses, that starts to bleed into other areas of life. And then there's autophagy. When you spend more time in a fasted state, especially combined with exercise, you flip on a process called autophagy. Imagine microscopic janitors going through your cells, recycling broken parts, cleaning up cellular trash that's been accumulating. For men, over time, this may help with inflammation, with metabolic health, with aging better and not just looking better in the mirror. I'm curious, have you ever tried working out on an empty stomach? Did you feel like a machine, or did you crash and burn? Drop your experience in the comments, because the range of reactions is huge and I want to hear yours. So we've talked about the obvious stuff. Fat burning, hormones, energy systems. But there's a whole second layer of changes that most men don't even realize are connected to fasting and training. Let's talk about the unexpected benefits, and then we'll tackle the fears and myths that stop most guys from ever trying this in the first place. Here's something most guys don't expect. As your insulin sensitivity improves and those blood sugar swings start to level out, something shifts in your relationship with food. Those intense cravings that used to hijack your afternoon, the ones that sent you digging through the pantry or hitting the drive-thru, they start to fade. You're not white-knuckling your way through willpower anymore. You realize something profound: I can be hungry and still be okay. That feeling of not being ruled by food is massive for men who've spent years trapped in bulk and cut cycles, or stuck in binge and restrict patterns that never actually end. You start to trust yourself again. That's not a small thing. Here's another one. Better inflammation and recovery, when you do this right. Chronic overfeeding and constant blood sugar spikes create more inflammation in your body. Your immune system stays slightly activated, like a low-grade fire that never goes out. Fasting windows give your gut and your immune system time to settle down, to stop being on high alert. Some men report less joint pain, less bloating, better sleep once they stop eating late at night and give their digestive system a real break. Lower inflammation plus better sleep equals better recovery from training. It all connects. And then there are the aesthetic changes that go beyond what the scale tells you. You might see less puffiness in your face. Veins starting to show in your forearms that weren't visible before. Your waist tightening even if the number on the scale barely moves. This isn't magic. It's improved nutrient partitioning combined with reduced inflammation and better water balance. You don't just get smaller. You look more defined, sharper, like someone turned up the contrast on your physique. Now let's debunk the big fears, because these are the stories that keep most men from ever trying this. Fear number 1. I'll lose all my muscle. Here's the truth. Muscle is expensive tissue. Your body doesn't burn it unless it's desperate, and it only gets desperate if you're resistance training, eating enough protein, and getting adequate calories in your feeding window. Studies on men lifting while doing 16/8 fasting show fat loss with lean mass maintained. If you're lifting heavy and eating like an adult, fasting is far more likely to strip fat than strip muscle. Fear number 2, my testosterone will crash. Let's add some nuance here. Severe, prolonged calorie restriction can absolutely harm your hormones. But time-restricted eating with enough total food is a completely different thing. Improved sleep, reduced body fat, and better insulin sensitivity all support healthier testosterone levels in men. The caveat? Abusing fasting, turning it into starvation, overtraining while undereating and undersleeping, that can backfire hard. Intermittent fasting is a tool. Used wisely, it supports hormonal health. Used as punishment, it can hurt you. Fear number 3, fasted training puts me into starvation mode and ruins my metabolism. Short-term fasting combined with training actually increases certain metabolic hormones and can slightly boost your energy expenditure. Starvation mode is a real thing, but it's a chronic, extreme undereating problem that happens over months. It's not skipping breakfast and then training. You're not crashing your metabolism by fasting for 16 hours. You crash it by undereating for months on end and never giving your body proper fuel when you do eat. Fear number 4, you can only do light cardio fasted, not heavy lifting. Plenty of men successfully lift heavy in a fasted state. The key is adequate total calories, smart programming, and possibly placing your hardest sessions closer to the end of your fast, right before you break it. Some guys genuinely feel better lifting with a small pre-workout meal, and that's fine. That doesn't mean fasting doesn't work. It means know your body and adjust accordingly. Now, to build real trust here, let's be honest about who should be careful or avoid this altogether. Men who are underweight, recovering from an eating disorder, under extreme stress while sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, or dealing with certain medical conditions or medications, these men should talk to a professional before stacking fasting with intense training. I'm not here to sell you a magic trick. I'm here to help you use science safely. A few practical anchors. Hydration and electrolytes matter. Enough protein in your feeding window is non-negotiable. Start with a reasonable fasting window, like 14 to 16 hours. And listen to your body. Persistent dizziness, brain fog that doesn't improve, poor sleep, these are signals to adjust, not push through. So yes, there are real risks if you treat this like a crash diet or some extreme challenge. But when you respect your body and the science behind what's happening, fasting plus training can become one of the most powerful tools you ever use. Now let's zoom out. Not just 30 days. What does this look like over 6 months, a year, or the next decade of your life as a man? After months of training while practicing intermittent fasting, the changes stack up. Your waist is noticeably smaller. Your lifts are stable or stronger than when you started. Your blood work comes back better, glucose lower, triglycerides down, maybe even blood pressure improved. But the biggest shift isn't what you see in the mirror or on a lab report. It's in how you relate to food, to discipline, to yourself. You're no longer the guy who needs a snack every 2 hours to function. You're not the guy who spirals into self-loathing after one bad meal derails your entire week. You become the man who can choose when to eat. The man who can walk into the gym on an empty stomach and know, without doubt, that his body will show up for him. That identity shift is what makes this sustainable. It's not a diet you white-knuckle through. It becomes part of who you are. Let's talk about what this means for aging, because that's where the long game really matters. Better insulin sensitivity over years means lower risk of type 2 diabetes. Healthier body fat levels mean lower risk of heart disease. The potential benefits to brain health through increased BDNF and improved metabolic function, those compound over decades. This isn't a guarantee, no lifestyle choice is, but you're stacking the deck in your favor instead of playing with a loaded gun. This isn't about getting shredded for summer and then falling apart in the fall. This is about aging like the kind of man who's still strong, sharp, and capable at 50, 60, 70. Now let's bring this back from the epic vision to something you can actually do starting tomorrow. You don't need to jump into 20-hour fasts or some extreme protocol you saw on social media. Here's a simple entry point. Stop eating 3 hours before bed. Stretch your overnight fast to 12 or 14 hours. Place your workout near the end of that window. Once that feels normal, once your body stops fighting you, explore 16-8. Keep your protein high. Track how your strength, mood, and sleep respond. You're not locked into one rigid way of eating for the rest of your life. You're experimenting with your own biology, learning what works for you. Here's the core takeaway, the one idea to remember from this entire video. It's not just what you eat that shapes your body as a man. It's when you eat, and who you become in the hours you're not eating. Fasting plus training isn't about starving yourself or suffering through some miserable challenge. It's about teaching your body to burn what you've already stored, to access the fuel you've been carrying around, and to become metabolically flexible instead of dependent. If this helped you understand what's actually happening when you train fasted, hit that like button so more men see this instead of another clickbait myth. Subscribe if you want more deep dive, science-backed videos on how to build a stronger, sharper body and brain without destroying your health in the process. And share this with a friend who's always bulking or cutting but never seems to actually feel good in his body. This might be the missing piece he's been looking for. There's a lot of health advice online, very little of it is science. If this added value, like the video, comment what you learned, and subscribe for evidence-based content.